Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel at NDN TV Nigeria. Click on the subscribe button and be the first to get notifications.
Participants at a recent summit held in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State to sensitize host communities on equitable participation in the petroleum industry have called on the federal government to subsidize the cost of owning and operating modular refineries in the Niger Delta. The call follows Vice President Yemi Osinbajo's recent declaration that the federal government does not have the financial muscle to underwrite the cost of establishing modular refineries across the country.
Speaking virtually at a recent stakeholders meeting on integration of artisanal crude oil refiners into the mainstream of the petroleum industry, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo maintained that contrary to public expectations, the federal government could not afford to shoulder the financial burden of establishing modular refineries in the country.
The transition from artisanal refineries to modular refineries has been delayed because of the operator's expectation that this process will be fully underwritten by government. However, what this framework envisages is a private sector-led partnership with equity participation from the state governments or its agencies, registered local cooperative societies, and the integration of regional refinery stakeholders with a private investor having majority equity. This is the sustainable model.
The Vice President's position was a departure from the promise he made in February 2017 that the federal government would build modular refineries to discourage proliferation of artisanal refineries in the Niger Delta and provide jobs for unemployed youths in the region. At the recent summit in Uyo, the Akwa Ibom state capital, participants reminded the federal government that host communities in the Niger Delta do not have the financial capacity to own and operate modular refineries.
Licensing, it requires a lot of money that people in the in the host communities cannot achieve. So that is something that is key that government must look into.
With the government's inability to deliver the long-awaited modular refineries, more jobless youths are getting involved in artisanal crude oil refining to eke out a living under very harsh conditions in the Niger Delta.
It is just for government to assist us, to guarantee us either through bank loan or whatever. We can't continue with what we are doing. It's not environmental friendly.
As the federal government moves to address the crisis of energy deficiency in the country, its attention has been drawn to efforts made over the years by artisanal crude oil refiners to make petroleum products available for local consumption.
If you go to the petrol stations, most of the filling stations, what they are selling is from those boys. So what are we talking about? So we need to, government must look into it. The federal government must look into that. And once that is done, it will even arrest, the restiveness of youths.
The call on the federal government to subsidize costs of owning modular refineries is also hinged on the fact that it would guarantee equitable participation for host communities in the petroleum industry.
Inside the Niger Delta,